The cafe never slept, and neither did Yoon Ha-neul. At 3 in the morning on an ordinary Tuesday, she wiped down the counter for the 10th time, watching the city of Seoul through the fogged window. Blue and red neon flickered across the street, reflecting in puddles from recent rain. Night customers came and went, exhausted students, graveyard shift workers, lonely souls with nowhere else to go. Ha-neul knew that last group well, not from romantic loneliness, but from the exhaustion of someone working 2 shifts to pay rent on a studio smaller than most people's closets. Her phone vibrated, another notification. She sighed, knowing she should have left the phone in her pocket, but curiosity won. She opened the app and froze. Her post about the security flaws in HeartSync, Korea's most popular dating app, had exceeded 50,000 shares. 50,000. She'd written it at 4 in the morning after a particularly brutal shift, not expecting anyone to pay attention. But now tech journalists were commenting. Furious users were demanding answers from the company, and her inbox was exploding. "Shit," she whispered, her heart racing. It wasn't exactly fear, but something close to it. Exposure was never her goal. She just wanted people to know the truth, that the app promising to find perfect love through sophisticated algorithms was leaking personal data from thousands of users. Real-time location, message history, even private photos, all vulnerable. The door chime rang. Ha-neul looked up and saw a tall man enter, wearing a black coat too expensive for this neighborhood and sunglasses despite the hour. He walked straight to the counter, moving with a quiet confidence that made something in her stomach contract. When he removed the glasses, Ha-neul met dark, intense eyes that seemed to assess every detail of her in seconds. "An Americano, hot. No sugar," he said, his voice deep and controlled. Ha-neul prepared the coffee on autopilot, but she felt his gaze fixed on her. It was unsettling. When she placed the cup on the counter, he didn't pick it up immediately. "Do you work here every night?" he asked. "Most of them. Why?" "Just curious." He took a sip, watching her over the rim of the cup. "Must be exhausting." "It's work," Ha-neul replied, crossing her arms. Something about him put her on the defensive. Handsome men in expensive clothes usually came with problems attached. "Anything else?" An almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "Actually, yes. You're the person who wrote that post about HeartSync?" Ha-neul's world stopped. She felt the blood drain from her face. "How did you—" "Not hard to track when you know where to look," he interrupted, his voice still calm but with a sharp edge now. "Impressive, by the way. You found a vulnerability that our entire security team missed, so I came personally to ask a question." He leaned forward slightly. "How?" Ha-neul took a step back. "Our team? You work for them?" "I am them, Kang Ji-ho, founder of HeartSync." The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. Kang Ji-ho, the reclusive billionaire who created the app at 24 and turned digital relationships into an exact science. Or at least that's what they said. Ha-neul had never seen a clear photo of him. He avoided cameras like vampires avoided sunlight. And now he was standing in her cafe at 3 in the morning, because she'd exposed his company on the internet. "I didn't do anything illegal," she said quickly, her voice firmer than she felt. "I just used the app normally and noticed that—" "I know. You didn't do anything wrong. Actually, you did exactly what you should have. You exposed us before something worse happened." Ji-ho placed the cup on the counter, his long fingers drumming once on the porcelain. "I came to make you an offer." Ha-neul blinked. "An offer? Work for me. Temporarily. Help identify other flaws in the system. I'll pay well. Very well." "I don't know programming," Ha-neul responded automatically. "I just pay attention. And I have a good memory. I'm not an engineer. Exactly why I need you. My team thinks like engineers. They build complex systems and assume users will use them as planned. You think like a real user. That's what we're missing." Ha-neul studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation or ulterior motives. But Ji-ho just watched her back, patient, as if he had all the time in the world. And maybe he did. Billionaires usually did. "Why did you come yourself?" she asked. "Why not send an assistant or lawyer?" Something passed through his eyes, so quick she almost missed it. Vulnerability, perhaps, or genuine curiosity. Because important problems require direct attention, and you've become an important problem, Yoon Ha-neul. The way he said her name, slowly, as if tasting each syllable, sent a shiver down her spine. Not from fear. Something different. Something dangerous. I need to think about it, she said finally. Ji-ho nodded, already expecting that answer. He placed a business card on the counter, matte black with embossed silver letters. You have 48 hours. After that, the offer expires, and I'll find someone else, but no one will be as good as you. He left before she could respond, leaving his coffee half-finished and Ha-neul with a whirlwind of thoughts. She picked up the card, feeling the weight of the expensive paper between her fingers. There was only a phone number, no email, no address. Typical of someone who valued privacy above all else. Ha-neul tucked the card in her pocket and tried to return to work, but her mind was elsewhere. The offer was tempting. Enough money to pay off debts, maybe even save for the first time in her life. But work for Kang Ji-ho? The man who built an empire based on compatibility algorithms, someone who believed love could be quantified in data and patterns. Everything about him screamed control, calculation, coldness. Still, when she closed her eyes, she saw that moment of vulnerability that escaped from him. As if for a second, the mask had slipped. She didn't call in the first 24 hours. She worked her normal shift, tried to sleep, failed miserably. Her studio seemed smaller than ever, the walls closing in around her. Bills piled on the coffee table. A refrigerator with more condiments than real food. Her entire life fit in 30 square meters and a routine that slowly suffocated her. At the 30th hour, she called. Ji-ho answered on the second ring. I thought you'd wait until the last hour. I still can if you want, Ha-neul retorted, surprising herself with the boldness. She heard something that might have been a muffled laugh. When can you start? I need to give a week's notice at work. I'll take care of it. You start tomorrow. You can't just... I can and will. 9 in the morning. A car will pick you up. He hung up before she could protest. Ha-neul looked at the phone, oscillating between irritation and something dangerously close to excitement. Kang Ji-ho was everything she normally avoided. Arrogant, controlling, used to getting what he wanted. But there was something about his certainty, the way he simply decided and acted, that affected her in ways she couldn't name. The car arrived at 8:50, punctual to a fault. A black Mercedes that looked straight out of a movie. The driver opened the door without a word, and Ha-neul got in feeling completely out of place in her jeans and simple blouse. They crossed Seoul in silence, leaving her modest neighborhood behind and entering Gangnam, where glass skyscrapers competed for space in the sky. The Heartsink building occupied 20 floors of pure modern architecture. Minimalist interior, all white and gray with touches of green through strategically positioned plants. Employees walked quickly, all impeccably dressed, all seeming to know exactly where they were going. Ha-neul felt like an imposter. Ji-ho waited for her on the 20th floor, his private office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. He stood near one of them, hands in his pockets, watching Seoul spread below like a living organism. When she entered, he turned. Welcome, he said simply. Ha-neul didn't respond immediately, busy absorbing the space. Everything there screamed success, control, perfection. Even the way the books were organized on the shelf seemed calculated. Nothing out of place, nothing vulnerable. This is intimidating, she said honestly. It should be comfortable. You'll be spending a lot of time here. Ji-ho gestured to a workstation set up near the window. State-of-the-art computer, ergonomic chair, even a small succulent plant. Your space. Close to yours, she observed. I need you to work directly with me. No intermediaries, no filters. He approached and Ha-neul forced herself not to back away. You'll have complete access to the system. See everything, test everything, break everything if necessary. Your only obligation is to be honest about what you find. What if I find things you don't want to hear? Especially those. Something darkened in his eyes. I built this app to genuinely connect people, If it's failing, I need to know. Ego isn't worth more than user safety. There was real conviction in his voice, and Ha Newell found herself believing. Maybe Kang Ji-ho wasn't just the cold billionaire the media painted. Maybe there was something more beneath that polished surface. She spent the following days immersed in the system, exploring layers of code she didn't fully understand, but whose patterns she was beginning to recognize. Ji-ho worked beside her, sometimes in silence for hours, sometimes explaining technical details with a patience that surprised her. He was different there, less guarded, more present. When he explained how the compatibility algorithm worked, his eyes lit up with genuine passion. "Do you really believe in this?" Ha Newell asked one afternoon, after he finished explaining how personality traits were mapped and compared. "That love can be quantified." Ji-ho paused, his fingers freezing over the keyboard. "I believe compatibility can be identified. Shared values, similar life goals, complementary communication patterns. But love?" He looked at her, and there was something new in his gaze. Uncertainty. Love is the variable no algorithm can fully predict. It's what makes all of this fascinating. And frustrating. "So you built an empire on something you can't fully control." A sad smile touched his lips. Ironic, isn't it? In that moment, something changed between them. A layer removed. Ha Newell saw for the first time not billionaire Kang Ji-ho, but just Ji-ho, a brilliant man who built walls around himself and now didn't know how to tear them down. The weeks passed. The work was challenging, but rewarding. Ha Newell discovered she had a talent for identifying weak points in systems, not through technical knowledge, but human intuition. She thought like malicious users would think, explored paths engineers would never consider, and Ji-ho absorbed every insight, implementing changes quickly. But it wasn't just the work that was evolving. Conversations extended beyond business hours. Work dinners transformed into unexpected confessions. Ha Newell learned that Ji-ho created HeartSync after seeing his sister suffer in abusive relationships. He wanted to give people tools to identify truly compatible partners before getting emotionally involved. Noble reason, distorted by obsession with perfection. Ji-ho learned that Ha Newell wrote not just app reviews, but stories. Small tales about ordinary people in extraordinary situations. She never published anything, never showed anyone. But one night, after a few drinks, he insisted, saying it was to celebrate the 5th security flaw she discovered. Ha Newell let him read a draft on her phone. Ji-ho read in silence, his face impassive, and Ha Newell almost snatched the device back 3 times. But then he looked up, and there was something raw there. Admiration. Envy, perhaps. "You capture emotion in a way I never could," he said slowly. "I see patterns, data, logic. You see, people. Real. Imperfect. Beautiful." Ha Newell's heart raced. "You see people too. You're just used to seeing them through numbers. Maybe you can teach me to see differently." The tension between them was palpable now. Every accidental touch of hands reaching for the same document. Every prolonged look that lasted seconds too long. Ha Newell fought against it, against the growing attraction to someone from a completely different world than hers. Ji-ho was too meticulous, too controlled, too rich. They didn't make sense. But the heart never followed logic. The bomb exploded on a Thursday morning. Ha Newell arrived at the office and found Ji-ho tense, jaw clenched as he stared at the computer. The screen showed headlines from tech gossip sites. HeartSync founder hires mysterious lover. Kang Ji-ho hides secret relationship with employee. There were photos, grainy but recognizable, of them leaving a restaurant together late at night. The angle suggested an intimacy that didn't exist, but the implication was clear. "How did they get this?" Ha Newell whispered, her stomach churning. "Someone from inside leaked it." Ji-ho's voice was ice. "Someone who wants to hurt me, or you." "Me?" The absurdity hit her. "I'm nobody. Why would anyone—" "You're someone now. You're by my side. That makes you a target." Ha Newell's phone started vibrating. Messages flooding in. Social media comments calling her a gold digger, opportunist, slut. Strangers dissecting every aspect of her life, discovering where she lived, where she worked before. Her privacy disintegrated in hours. Ha Newell felt nauseous. "I can't. I'll fix it." Jiho stood up, iron determination on his face. I'll issue a statement clarifying that you're a security consultant, nothing more. I'll sue the sites that published lies. Stop, Hanul interrupted, her voice trembling. Will you stop trying to control everything? Because that's what you do, Jiho. You see a problem and immediately want to fix it, optimize it, put it in a perfect box. But this isn't a bug in your system. These are real people making real choices. So what do you want me to do? Watch while they destroy you? I want you to admit that not everything can be solved with money and influence. The words came out louder than she intended, loaded with frustration that had been building for weeks. I want you to be human for 5 seconds instead of a calculating CEO. Heavy silence fell between them. Jiho stared at her, something breaking behind his eyes. And then, without warning, he closed the distance and pulled her into a desperate embrace. I don't know how to do that, he confessed against her hair, his voice cracking. I don't know how not to fix things. I don't know how to let people I care about suffer without doing something. Especially you. Hanul froze. Especially you. The words echoed in her mind, reconfiguring everything. She slowly wrapped her arms around him, feeling the tension in his body, the tiny tremor of vulnerability he finally allowed. You care about me? She whispered. Jiho pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. More than I should. More than is smart. You challenge every assumption I have about control and predictability. And He paused, searching for words. I can't stop thinking about you, the way you see the world, the way you make me want to be less perfect and more real. Hanul's heart beat so hard he could probably feel it. This is scary. Terrifying, he agreed, but also the only thing that feels right lately. They stood like that, in the middle of the office flooded with morning light, while the outside world conspired against them. And Hanul realized it didn't matter how many algorithms Jiho created, how many variables he controlled. This, whatever was growing between them, defied all logic. And maybe that was exactly why it was real. But reality didn't wait for romantic moments. The office door burst open. A woman entered, intimidatingly beautiful, wearing an impeccable white suit, dark hair in an elegant bun. She looked from Jiho to Hanul with something dangerously close to contempt. So this is her, the woman said, her voice cold. The girl who's ruining everything. Jiho stepped away from Hanul, but not before she saw something new in his eyes. Guilt. Lee Sua, he said carefully, you shouldn't be here. Shouldn't I? I'm the COO of this company, Jiho, and more importantly, I'm your fiancé. The world tilted beneath Hanul's feet. Fiancé. The word ricocheted in her mind like a bullet. She looked at Jiho, expecting denial, clarification, anything. But he just closed his eyes briefly, jaw tight. Ex-fiancé, he corrected, but the word sounded weak. Sua laughed, a humorless sound. Ex? We broke up 2 months ago, Jiho, and you've already replaced a perfectly compatible partner. 97% compatibility on your own algorithm, by the way, with a cafe girl. Compatibility isn't love, Hanul heard herself say, surprised by the firmness in her voice despite the internal chaos. And if you were so perfect together, why did you break up? Sua studied her, reassessing. Because Jiho is incapable of truly connecting with anyone. He loves the idea of relationships, the science behind them, but the emotional reality? He runs. You'll discover that soon enough. Enough, Jiho intervened, his voice low and dangerous. Are you here for work or just to cause damage? Both. She crossed her arms. The board is concerned. This news affects the company's image. HeartSync positions itself as the trusted platform for finding true love. Our founder supposedly having an affair with a junior employee undermines that message. She's not junior. She's a specialized consultant, whom you hired after she exposed flaws in our system. Do you understand how that looks? It looks like you hired her to keep her quiet. Or worse, to stay close to her for personal reasons. Hanul felt bile rise. Every word from Soo-ah planted seeds of doubt she didn't want to water but couldn't ignore. Did Ji-ho genuinely hire her for her skills? Or were there ulterior motives from the start? I think I should go, Hanul said abruptly. Hanul, don't. Ji-ho reached for her arm, but she pulled away. I need to think about all of this. She looked at Soo-ah, then back at Ji-ho. You said I should be honest about what I find. So here it is. I found something broken. Not in the system. In you. You want authenticity but live surrounded by walls. You criticize algorithms but chose a fiancé based on percentages. And now you say you care about me, but I don't even know if you know what that means. She left before he could respond, before the tears burning in her eyes could fall. The elevator doors closed on the image of Ji-ho standing there, shattered, while Soo-ah watched with barely disguised satisfaction. Hanul spent the following days in her apartment, phone off, ignoring the world. Messages from Ji-ho accumulated, starting with apologies, then explanations, finally just pleased to talk. She didn't respond, not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know what to say. The truth was complicated. She believed Ji-ho had feelings for her. She'd seen it in his eyes, felt it in his embrace. But Soo-ah was right about one thing. Ji-ho had problems truly connecting. He intellectualized emotions, treated love like a problem to be solved. And Hanul didn't want to be another optimization project. On the third night, someone knocked on the door. Hanul opened it and found not Ji-ho, but an older woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. You must be Yoon Hanul, the woman said. I'm Kang Min-seo, Ji-ho's sister. May I come in? Too surprised to refuse, Hanul let her in. Min-seo looked around the small apartment without judgment, just curiosity. She sat on the worn sofa as if it were the most comfortable piece of furniture in the world. My brother is an idiot. Min-seo began without preamble. Brilliant, but an idiot about things that matter. He didn't mention Soo-ah because to him, that was already in the past, filed away, resolved. He doesn't understand that relationships don't work that way. Why are you telling me this? Hanul asked. Because I've seen what you've done to him. For the first time in years, Ji-ho is actually feeling something. Not analyzing, not optimizing, just feeling. It scares him to death, but it also wakes him up. Min-seo leaned forward. He created HeartSync because of me, you know? After I went through terrible relationships, he became obsessed with protecting people from making bad choices. But in the process, he protected himself from making any choices. Until you. I don't want to be his rescue project. You're not. You're his awakening. Min-seo smiled. And it's terrifying, but necessary. Trust me, I know my brother. He's in free fall now, and there's no algorithm that can save him. Only you. After Min-seo left, Hanul stayed up all night, thoughts circling. By morning, she made a decision. She turned on her phone and typed a message to Ji-ho. Meet me at the cafe where we met. Midnight. He responded immediately. I'll be there. Hanul arrived first, the place strangely quiet for a location that used to teem with life. She sat in a corner, heart beating irregularly, while mentally rehearsing what to say. But when Ji-ho entered, hair disheveled, deep dark circles, desperate eyes, all planned words evaporated. He sat across from her, hands on the table as if he wanted to reach for her but didn't dare. I messed everything up. Yes, Hanul agreed. You did. I didn't mention Soo-ah because I thought it didn't matter. We broke up before I met you. It was amicable, based on mutual recognition of emotional incompatibility. I thought it was filed away. People aren't files, Ji-ho. Past relationships matter. They shape who we are. I know that now. He finally took her hand, fingers trembling. You're right about me. I intellectualize everything because it's safer than feeling. Numbers don't hurt you. Algorithms don't leave you. But they also don't make you laugh at 3 a.m. because you told a silly story about a customer confusing sugar with salt. They don't make your chest tighten when you discover a system flaw, and your eyes shine with excitement. They don't make you want to be better, more human, more real. Tears burned in Hanul's eyes. You scare me. You terrify me, he echoed. I spent years building an empire based on predictability, and then you show up, completely unpredictable, and destroy every certainty I had. But I don't want certainty if it means living without you. How do I know this is real? That you're not just obsessed with the challenge, the variable you can't control? Jiho released her hand and leaned back. For a moment, Hanyul thought he would leave. But then he pulled out his phone, opened an app, and turned the screen toward her. It was HeartSync, his profile. And in the recent matches section was a name, Yoon Hanyul. The compatibility percentage blinked in red, 47%. 47%, Jiho said slowly. According to my own algorithm, we're terribly incompatible. You're spontaneous, I'm rigid. You embrace chaos, I seek order. You feel first and think later, I analyze until I'm paralyzed. No logic justifies this. He paused, eyes fixed on hers. And yet, you're the only person I want to wake up next to. The only voice I want to hear when something goes wrong. The only one who makes all of this, the success, the money, the recognition, mean something. Hanyul couldn't hold back the tears. You're telling me your own system says we're wrong for each other? Yes. And you choose to want me anyway? Especially because of that. Jiho smiled, and it was the most genuine smile she'd ever seen on him. You taught me that the best things in life can't be predicted or optimized. They have to be lived, felt, risked. Hanyul stood up, walked around the table, and stopped in front of him. Jiho looked up, vulnerable in a way probably no one else had ever seen, and she realized it didn't matter what algorithms said, what the media thought, what the outside world conspired. This, them, was real in a way that defied all logic. She leaned down and kissed him, not calculated, not planned, just necessary. Jiho froze for half a second before responding, hands finding her waist, pulling her closer as if afraid she'd disappear if he let go. The kiss was messy, desperate, perfect in its imperfection. When they separated, both breathing irregularly, Hanyul whispered against his lips, 47% doesn't seem so bad now. Stupid numbers anyway, Jiho murmured, and kissed her again. The following months weren't easy. The media continued pursuing them, inventing stories, creating dramas. Suah tried a few more times to cause trouble before finally accepting defeat and resigning to start her own company. HeartSync's board questioned Jiho's decisions, pressed for image changes, suggested he temporarily step back. But Jiho didn't run. For the first time, he fought, not with money or influence, but with honesty. He gave interviews admitting he met Hanyul because she exposed flaws in the system and that hiring her was the best business decision he ever made. That yes, they developed feelings, but that didn't change the fact that she was talented and essential to the company. That complicated relationships were human, and maybe it was time for his human company to embrace that. Hanyul, for her part, learned to navigate public scrutiny. It wasn't easy. There were days when she wanted to give up, return to her simple life. But Jiho was there, reminding her why she mattered, not just to him but to the company. And slowly, she built her own identity at HeartSync, not as the founder's girlfriend, but as a user experience specialist with a unique perspective. A year later, they launched a HeartSync update that changed everything. Instead of focusing only on algorithmic compatibility, the new system incorporated unpredictability factors, recognition that the best relationships often defy logic. Users could now see not just matches with high compatibility, but also challenging connections, people who were different but could offer growth and discovery. The marketing campaign openly featured Jiho and Hanyul. We're 47% compatible, the slogan said, and completely in love, because love isn't about finding your perfect copy. It's about finding someone who challenges you to grow. It was controversial. Some users hated it, saying it betrayed the app's original promise. Others loved it, saying it finally reflected how relationships really work. But what mattered was that it was honest, authentic, real. On launch night, Jiho and Hanyul stood on the company building's rooftop, watching Seoul glow below. The city never slept, and neither did their dreams. Do you think we'll work? Hanyul asked, leaning against him. Long term? Jiho considered the question seriously, the way he considered everything. Statistically, couples with low compatibility have higher chances of breaking up. You're giving me statistics now? But, he continued, holding her tighter, statistics don't capture determination, or hard work, or the fact that waking up next to you is the only predictability I want in life. Hanyul smiled against his chest. You're getting better at this, at the romance thing. You're a good teacher. He paused, and I'm a dedicated student. They stayed like that as night enveloped the city, two opposite poles that somehow created their own balance. No algorithm would have predicted it. No system would have recommended it. But it was theirs. Imperfect, challenging, real. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Inside his pocket, Jiho's phone vibrated. A heart-sync notification. He checked absent-mindedly, then froze. Hanyul noticed the change. What is it? He showed her the screen. Their compatibility percentage had changed. No longer 47%, now it read 52%. The system is learning, he explained, voice full of wonder, incorporating data on how real relationships evolve, and we're becoming more compatible the more time we spend together. Hanyul took the phone, studying the numbers. So your algorithm finally admits we were right? The algorithm doesn't matter. Jiho took the phone back and put it away without looking. But yes, for the record, you were right. About everything. She turned in his arms, hands finding his face. Say that again. I want to remember it forever. Jiho laughed, a genuine, free sound that she caused and no one else could. You were right. Music to my ears. They kissed under Seoul's sky, surrounded by millions of people searching for connection, validation, love through screens and algorithms. But there, in that moment, they were just two imperfect humans choosing each other repeatedly. No guarantees, no perfect percentages, just faith that together, they were enough. Because in the end, love was never about math. It was always about choice.